Okay, I think we're ready for conflict. Act 3, Scene 1. Conflict. All right. So certainly there's been some conflict as far as Romeo and Juliet not supposedly to be able to get married, but they kind of already got over that, right? Um, but now here comes the real conflict. So in this scene, we have um, the usual characters we've seen. I don't think there's anyone else that's new. We have Benvolio, Mercutio, Tybalt, Romeo, Citizen, Prince, and Lady Capulet. Oh, and Montague shows up at the end. And I'm giving you just a brief overview because I don't want to give too much away until we read it. So the scene starts with Mercutio and Benvolio, and Benvolio is being his usual self. He doesn't want to be out there right now because he thinks that they're going to get into a fight. The Capulets are around, and I'm worried we're going to get into a fight. We just need to go inside so we can avoid that. Mercutio has no interest in changing his life to fit whatever the prince and the feud. He takes control of his own life um, and his own destiny. Um, we talked about that before, that he's very different than Romeo. Romeo is just, oh, whatever's going to happen, let's let it happen. Um, and so he says, no, I'm going to stay out here. Tybalt shows up. He's looking for Romeo because he wants to duel him. And there's some words, and Romeo shows up, and there's some words, and then there's a fight scene. Um, won't spoil anything, but needless to say, the prince shows up, and he's very upset that people are fighting because if you fight, you get a death sentence. And so he gives everybody their punishment for fighting. And that's pretty much the scene. We'll talk about the significance of all of that afterward because I don't want to give anything away. So let's go to the actual scene, read through it, and then we could talk about it. Here we go. Okay, so as I said, Mercutio and Benvolio are hanging out, talking. There's some joking around, as usual. Benvolio says, I pray thee, good Mercutio, let's retire. Let's get out of here. The day is hot and the capitals are abroad, and if we meet, we shall not scape or brawl. For now these hot days is the mad blood stirring. He just knows that something bad's going to happen if they stay out there with all the Capulets around. And Mercutio says, and he just makes fun of him because that's how he deals with life, right? Thou art like one of these fellows that when he enters the confines of a tavern, claps me his sword upon the table and says, God send me no need of thee. And by the operation of the second cup, draws him on the drawer when indeed there is no need. He's like one of these guys that goes into a bar, puts his sword down, says, I'm not going to need this. But by the time he drinks his second drink, he's already taken his sword out and chopped people's heads off when he didn't need to. We know he's being sarcastic. Benvolio is the opposite of this. That's what makes it funny. That's what makes sarcasm funny, when you say something that's obviously the opposite of what is true. Am I such a fellow? Come. Thou art as hot as any jack in thy mood is in, and as soon moved to be moody, and soon moody to be moved. You're the most angry, hot-headed person in all of Italy. And what two? Nay, and there were two such, we should have none shortly, for one would kill the other. If there were two of you, Benvolio, we'd have none, because one would kill the other one, because you're both such hot-tempered people. Why, thou wilt quarrel for a man that hath a hair more or less in his beard than thou hast. Thou wilt quarrel for a man for cracking nuts, having no other reason but because thou hast hazel eyes. What eye but such an eye would spy out such a quarrel? Thy head is as full of quarrels as an egg is full of meat, and yet thy head hath been beaten as addle as an egg for quarreling. Thou hast quarrelled with a man for coughing in the street, because he hath wakened thy dog that hath lain asleep in the sun. Didst thou not fall out with a tailor for wearing his new doublet before Easter, with another for tying his new shoes with old ribbon, and yet thou wilt tutor me from quarreling? Okay. he gives a whole bunch of reasons. You're like a person who will fight for this reason, and all these things that he mentions are just very silly, ridiculous reasons to fight. Right? You have one more hair than I do on my beard. You wore this suit before you were supposed to. Right? You woke up the dog. Like all these ridiculous reasons, and it's all sarcasm. Both of them know that Benvolio is not like this at all. We know that because we've watched the play and he hasn't acted like that at all. So this is all just for humor before we get to the big conflict scene. Benvolio says, "And I were so apt to quarrel as thou art, any man should buy the fee simple of my life for an hour and a quarter." The note in our book says that buy the fee simple is buy insurance. So, if I was really like that, then you should take out life insurance because you'd be a rich person pretty soon, right? The fee simple, oh, simple. Like, oh, that's stupid, right? What a dumb joke. Okay, so here comes Tybalt, and we know why he's there. And Benvolio's freaking out because he always does. "By my head, here come the Capulets. By my heel, I care not." Mercutio could care less. Tybalt says to his companions, "Follow me close. I will speak to them. Gentlemen, get in. A word with one of you." Mercutio doesn't like Tybalt at all, so he jokes around with him, and he says, "Oh, and but one word with one of us. Couple it with something, make it a word and a blow. Why don't you put a couple words together and then blow it out and you'll have a sentence. Yay, good for you. You shall find me apt enough to do that, sir, and you will give me occasion. Could you not take some occasion without giving?" This little dirty joke. Uh, "Mercutio, thou consortest with Romeo." Here we have a pun. "Consort? What, dost thou make us minstrels?" A consort is a group of musicians. "And thou make minstrels of us, look to hear nothing but discords." If you're going to say that we're musicians, we're going to play some very out of tune music for you. But he says, "Here's my fiddlestick," and he pulls out a sword. "Here's what shall make you dance." Get it? Because they're musicians. "Zounds, consort." And Benvolio's starting to freak out, as he usually does. He says, "Hey, there's people here. We're in public. We need to get out of here, right? We talk here in the public haunt of men. Either withdraw onto some private place or reason coldly of your grievances, or else depart. Here all eyes gaze on us." Like, do you not remember? We can get killed for fighting. Do we want to do this where everybody can see us fighting? Right. Mercutio says, "Men's eyes were made to look, and let them gaze. I will not budge for no man's pleasure eye." Yeah, go ahead. I don't care. Right, I'm not moving. Romeo enters, and Tybalt has no interest in Mercutio Benvolio. That's not what he's there for. So he says, "Well, peace be with you, sir. Here comes my man." Right? And Mercutio knows why Tybalt is there. He knows he's there to duel him. So he says, "But I'll be hanged, sir, if you wear your livery. Marry, go before to field. He'll be your follower. Go ahead to the battlefield. Romeo will follow you. Romeo will fight you." Right? Why not? Um, your worship in that sense may call him man, right? You wouldn't say, "Here comes my man." Yeah, he's a man in that sense. He's going to show his manliness by fighting you, right? So Tybalt calls out to him and he's trying to start a fight. He calls him the worst word he can think of. Apparently, they didn't have a lot of really bad words back then. He says, "Romeo, the love I bear thee can afford no better term than this." Are you ready for this? You better censor this. Here it comes. "Thou art a villain." "No, you didn't just call me that." Yeah, that's terrible. Romeo is not bothered by this. Now, this is important to note. Tybalt is Juliet's cousin. Romeo just married Juliet. Therefore, through marriage, Romeo and Tybalt are related. Not blood, but through marriage. So he says, "Tybalt, the reason I have to love thee doth much excuse the appertaining rage to such a greeting. Villain am I none." Like, I should be raging because of what you just said. But it's going to, the fact that I have to love you, which nobody knows why that is, excuses the rage that I should have right now. Villain am I none, therefore farewell. I see thou knowest me not. That's some dramatic irony. We know what he means by that. We know that he's related to Tybalt, but Tybalt doesn't, and nobody else does, right? Except for Romeo. Boy, this shall not excuse the injuries that thou hast done me. Therefore, turn and draw, meaning draw your sword. We're going to duel. We're going to fight right now. Romeo says, I do protest I never injured thee, but love thee better than thou canst devise till thou know the reason of my love. Like, you can't know why I love you until I tell you, but I can't tell you yet. And nobody knows, right, that I married Juliet. And so, good Capulet, which name I tender as dearly as my own, because our names are combined now, be satisfied. Now, Tybalt doesn't react to this. It's Mercutio that reacts to this, because you have to remember the time period. This isn't a time where your name means something and honor means something. And if you don't stand up for yourself and you're a coward, then now your whole family name, it means coward, right? If Romeo, and this is the time period, I don't agree with this. This is obviously ridiculous. Like, I don't think people should fight just because someone says, I challenge you to a duel. That's ludicrous. But that's why Mercutio gets upset. He says, "Oh, calm, dishonorable, vile submission." Romeo is submitting. He's giving in. He's saying, "No, I'm not going to fight you. I lose the challenge." Right? He's bringing dishonor. It's dishonorable and calm. He's bringing dishonor to his family. So Mercutio says, "Alla stoccata," which I believe is a fixing term, carries it away. Tybalt, you rat catcher, will you walk? Get it? Because he's the prince of cats. Rat catcher. Okay. However, what Mercutio is doing is he's trying to jump in and save Romeo's honor. And remember that Romeo is someone that just kind of lets things happen. Well, I can't fight you because I can't take any action. Things just happen, right? Whereas Mercutio is taking action. He's saying, no, I'm going to take control of the situation. Tybalt says, well, what wouldest thou have with me? What do you want with me? Good king of cats, nothing but one of your 9 lives that I mean to make bold withal, and as you shall use me hereafter, dry beat the rest of the 8. I want to take one of your 9 lives and then kill the rest of them. I want to kill you, right? Will you pluck your sword out of its pilcher by the ears? Cat terms. Make haste, lest mine be about your ears ere it be out. You better hurry before I stick this sword in your ear, before you take your sword out. Tybalt says, yeah, okay, I am for you. And so he draws the sword. And Romeo doesn't want to see this happen. Good, gentle Mercutio, put thy rapier up. And this is his sword. And Mercutio says, he ignores Romeo. And he looks at Tybalt and says, come, sir, you're passato. Let's fight. So they start sword fighting each other, right? To the death. It's a duel. Okay. And Romeo says, draw, Benvolio, beat their weapons down. And Romeo draws out his sword and he's trying to use his sword to stop their fighting. Gentlemen, for shame, forbear this outrage. Tybalt, Mercutio, the prince expressly hath forbid this banding in Verona streets, this fighting. Hold, Tybalt, good Mercutio. And Romeo attempts to beat down their rapiers. He goes up to Mercutio and tries to get him to stop fighting. He kind of puts the sword in the way. As Romeo is trying to stop Mercutio, Tybalt goes up behind Romeo, puts his sword in between Romeo's, like near his armpit, and stabs Mercutio through Romeo's arms. And nobody notices this, not even Romeo. He just very quickly, stabs him. And probably, I don't know, through the lung or something. Like it's and so it says Tybalt stabs Mercutio. And Petruchio sees this and says, away, Tybalt. And Tybalt and Petruchio and all their followers exit. But nobody knows that Mercutio has been hit because this has been done so slyly. For all his, proper rules and all this talk that Tybalt has, he's done a really sneaky move here, right? I am hurt. A plague on both your houses. I am sped. Is he gone and hath nothing? Okay. So Mercutio has been hurt very badly. Mercutio has never been on one side or the other. He's invited to Capulet parties because he hangs out with some of the Capulets, but he's friends with Romeo. He doesn't subscribe to this, this is the way things are, so I have to live that way. Someone told me that I have to hate this group, this family, so I do. He doesn't subscribe by that rule. His thing is more like I live in the moment. I take action. I do things because I see that they're necessary right now. So now he's angry that these two families have lived this way for so long. A plague on both your houses. I'm so angry that you two are fighting. This is such a dumb thing. Why do you act like this now? I'm dying, right? And he's gotten away and nothing happened to him, right? And Benvolio says, what, art thou hurt? And now we have some comic relief because we have a very tragic moment. I mean, he's just gotten very badly hurt and he's going to joke around. So he says, oh, a scratch. Mary, 'tis enough. Where's my page? Go, villain, fetch a surgeon. Everybody's laughing. Well, maybe. I don't know. It depends on, I've seen different versions of this. Romeo says, courage, man. The hurt cannot be much. Like, you didn't get hurt that bad, did you? He didn't see it. No, 'tis not so deep as a well or as wide as a church door, but 'tis enough. 'Twill serve, right? It'll kill me. Don't worry. Ask for me tomorrow and you shall find me a grave man. Because grave is a very serious man, but it's also where you put a dead body. So he's making very dark jokes here. I am peppered, I warrant, for this world. A plague on both your houses. Zounds, a dog, a rat, a mouse, a cat, to scratch a man to death, a braggart, a rogue, a villain that fights the book of arithmetic. Why the devil came you between us? I was hurt under your arm. I thought all for the best. Help me into some house, Benvolio, or I shall faint. A plague on both their houses. They have made worms meat of me. I have it, and soundly too. Your houses. So everybody leaves except for Romeo. When he was talking about a dog, a rat, a mouse, a cat to scratch a man to death, he was talking about the feud, right? He's talking about Tybalt. So they bring him into a house, and Romeo's left there. So this is a soliloquy, I suppose. Yeah, all but Romeo leave. This gentleman, the prince, he's talking about Mercutio. This gentleman, the prince's near ally, my very friend, hath got his mortal hurt in my behalf, my reputation stained with Tybalt's slander. Tybalt said some horrible things about me, and I didn't fight back. I didn't even respond to his duel. I didn't accept his duel. So my reputation, the whole family, his reputation is stained. And Tybalt, that an hour hath been my cousin. O sweet Juliet, thy beauty hath made me effeminate, and in my temper softened valor steel. I haven't been as tough as I should have been because I've been softened, by marriage and love and all that. So Benvolio comes back and he has horrible news. Oh, Romeo, brave Mercutio is dead. Okay, so we have our first official death of the play. Don't worry, there'll be more. That gallant spirit hath aspired to the cloud, hath aspired the clouds, which too untimely here did scorn the earth. Yeah, he's going heaven, right? And Romeo, now his anger's kicking it. This day's black fate on more days doth depend. This but begins, woe others must end. So I'm gonna go kill this guy, and somebody else will probably have to, continue the fighting because who knows, I might die, right? So after Romeo says this, Tybalt enters again. I doesn't explain why he comes back. Maybe he forgot his pencil. That's a joke. Here comes the furious Tybalt back again. And Romeo is furious. Alive in triumph, and Mercutio slain? Away to heaven, respective lenity, and fire-eyed fury be my conduct now. Now, Tybalt. So he approaches Tybalt. Take the villain back again. Call me a villain again. Let's see what happens. That late thou gavest me, for Mercutio's soul is but a little way above our heads, staying for thine to keep him company. He's just barely right there. He wants company, so I'm going to kill you so you can go join him. Either thou or I or both must go with him. And Tybalt wanted to kill Romeo in the first place, so this is making him happy, I'm sure. He's happy to fight him. Thou wretched boy that didst consort him, here shalt with him hence. You're going to be the one that goes with him. Wow, that's quite the comeback, Tybalt. And Romeo takes his sword out. This shall determine that. And they fight, and Romeo kills Tybalt. Okay? There's a lot going, a lot of conflict here. And after he kills Tybalt, Benvolio yells at Romeo, Romeo, away, be gone. The citizens are up, and Tybalt slain. Stand not amazed, the prince will doom thee death, if thou art taken. Hence, be gone, away. And Romeo screams at the sky, because that's what he usually does in this scene. Oh, I am fortune's fool. Benvolio says, why dost thou stay? Get out of here. So Romeo leaves. Benvolio is just hanging out there, because so we have some citizens are very upset. Which way ran he that killed Mercutio? Tybalt, that murderer, which way ran he? There lies Tybalt. Up, sir, go with me. I charge thee in the prince's name, obey. There's a lot of citizens acting like police officers. Enter Prince, old Montague, Capulet, and their wives. Prince is not happy. Where are the vile beginners of this fray? O noble prince, I can discover all the unlucky manage of this fateful brawl. There lies the man slain by young Romeo, that slew thy kinsman, brave Mercutio. Now, notice that he said thy kinsman. Is everyone related in this town? What is happening? Tybalt, my cousin. This is the Capulet. Oh, my brother's child, oh prince, oh cousin, oh husband, oh the blood is spilled of my dear kinsman prince, as thou art true, for blood of ours shed, blood of Montague. Oh, cousin, meaning prince. Because Romeo killed Tybalt, you need to kill him, right? You need to, slay him, shed the blood of Montague, right? And the prince says, Benvolio, who began this bloody fray? Now we have this, I suppose, dramatic monologue. He gives a speech. Benvolio does this a lot. He's going to explain, he's going to summarize everything that's happened. Okay? Tybalt here slain, whom Romeo's hand did slay, Romeo that spoke him fair, and bid him bethink how nice the quarrel was, and urged withal your high displeasure, which that's all true. Romeo said, we don't need to fight here in the streets. The king or prince has forbidden it, and Tybalt, I don't want to fight you, I have to love you, that kind of thing. All this uttered with gentle breath, calm look, knees humbly bowed, could not take truce with the unruly spleen of Tybalt, deaf to peace, but that he tilts with piercing steel at bold Mercutio's breast, who all is hot, turns deadly point to point, and with martial scorn, with one hand beats cold death aside, and with the other sends it back to Tybalt, whose dexterity retorts it. Romeo, he cries aloud, hold friends part, and swifter than his tongue, his agile arm beats down their fatal points, and twixt them rushes underneath, whose arm an envious thrust from Tybalt hit the life of stout Mercutio, and then Tybalt fled. So Benvolio either saw that happen or he just knows that it happened now that it's all said and done. But by and by it comes back to Romeo, who had but newly entertained revenge, and to it they go like lightning, for ere I could draw them apart was stout Tybalt slain. Before I could stop the fight, Romeo had already killed Tybalt. And as he fell, did Romeo turn and fly. This is the truth, or let Benvolio die. He didn't really say that Mercutio. Oh, I guess he did. Yeah, he said Mercutio was always hot, so he did say that Mercutio started the fight. Okay. Lady Capulet is very upset by this because her nephew is dead. So she points at Benvolio and says, "He is kinsman to the Montague. Affection makes him false. He speaks not true. Some 20 of them fought in this black strife, and all those 20 could kill but one life." She's making up a story. She's saying, no, that's not true. Benvolio is friends with Mercutio, so he's making this up. What really happened was 20 men had fought fought Tybalt, and all 20 of them could only kill one guy. That's not true. That's not what happened, right? She's just lying. "I beg for justice, which thou, prince, must give. Romeo slew Tybalt. Romeo must not live." And the prince says, "Romeo slew him. He slew Mercutio, who now the price of his dear blood doth owe." Yeah, we have one person killed another, right? Tybalt killed Mercutio. Uh, Tybalt is now dead. Do we need more blood? Do we need more death? Right? And Montague says, "No, not Romeo, Prince. He was Mercutio's friend. His fault concludes but what the law should end, the life of Tybalt." He's like, look, once Tybalt killed Mercutio, the law, meaning the prince or, his men, would have picked up Tybalt and hanged him. And for that offense, immediately do we exile him hence. I have an interest in your heart's proceeding. My blood for your rude brawls doth lie a bleeding. Now, when he says my blood, that's Mercutio. The prince is related to Mercutio. "But I'll immerse you with so strong a fine that you shall repent the loss of mine. I will be deaf to pleading and excuses. No tears nor prayers shall purchase out abuses. Therefore use none. That Romeo hence in haste. Else when he is found, that hour is his last. Romeo needs to get out of town. If I find him, I'm going to kill him." Okay. "Bear hence this body," meaning Tybalt, maybe Mercutio, uh, "and attend our will. Mercy but murders, pardoning those that kill." Yeah, they take Tybalt's body. So that's it. We have a lot of conflict going on here. So let's take a look at the significance. Okay, so obviously first we've got conflict, right? Um, this is what makes plays exciting and interesting. We have fight scenes. We have, but it's not just a fight scene. We have a fight scene where we're invested in the characters. We're invested in Mercutio. He was fighting for Romeo's honor, and now he's been killed. That makes us root for Romeo and want to see, Tybalt uh, uh, not killed, but we want to see Romeo get revenge, maybe. However, this creates more conflict. So certainly we have the fighting, the death scenes, but also Tybalt is Juliet's cousin. What is she going to say? Is she going to choose her new husband or her cousin? Is she going to be mad? I mean, would you be mad if your husband or wife killed your cousin? I don't, maybe that's not the best thing. Also, Romeo's killed a Capulet, so any chance of the families blessing the marriage and saying, "Oh, we're so happy, okay, the feud's over," that's not happening now, right? Uh, and now that Romeo's been banished, and may seem like a minor thing, but I believe this was the law back then. He can't consummate the marriage. He can't actually be married to Juliet unless he can go see her on their wedding night and do the thing that has to be done. So, conflict, right? We also have a reversal recognition. So certainly things were going very well for Romeo. He just got married, and all of a sudden, we have this huge twist that changes everything. He has a moment where he realizes, "Oh, what has marriage done to me?" And when he says, "Oh, I am fortune's fool," he has a moment where he recognizes, like, "Oh, this is bad." Now, which brings about the tragic flaw, right? Certainly, acting too quickly is probably his biggest flaw. Without thinking through it, acting too emotionally, right? That's most seen where he meets Juliet, even though they're enemies. He's like, "I want this. I'm going to get it, right? I'm going to go after it." Um, but it's not that he's doing what Mercutio does and take charge of his situation. It's just that he's been so overcome by emotion that he you know, doesn't think about the consequences. And so you could say the same is true. Now you might justify his actions and say he should have killed Tybalt, but you could also still say that he's acting too emotionally. He's acting too quickly. I mean, if he had just gone to the prince and said, "Hey, this guy killed my friend," Tybalt would have been killed. You know, and that might have maybe allowed him to marry Juliet publicly and the families to get together. Who knows? But certainly his acting too rashly has caused, at least partially, his downfall here. And so, but hey, the Act 3 is not over, so we have more conflicts coming, mostly in Scene 5. But there's other things that are coming. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching.